Hello everyone and welcome back to Ash's Whiskey Wars. And this is the last episode of this little mini series that I've been doing. Today's video is my best whiskies over £50 in the UK. Do let me know in the comments down below if you guys can hear an audio improvement, because I've made a little investment into the channel and I really hope that it improves things for you. I know recently I've been watching videos that I've been posting, and because I don't have any audio equipment, I just speak into the phone, and the phone's a good metre and a half away. The audio can sometimes be a little bit iffy. So hopefully there's an improvement, and also hopefully I'm recording right. This is the first time I've just opened it up, so I may need to learn a little bit on how to use it properly, but hopefully it's picking me up and I'm not just wasting my time, which may well happen. Okay guys, so kicking things off with a whiskey that I really could have included into last week's video, and I didn't, just because I'm a little bit pedantic when it comes to pricing. Sometimes this is available for around £47, sometimes it can be as high as 52, and just at the time of recording it was 52, so that's why I've put it into this video. And this is an Islay whiskey, 10 years of age, bottled at 50% ABV. This is the Port Charlotte 10. It's by Bruichladdich. This is a really surprising dram of whiskey. So this whiskey is going to be a lot sweeter than perhaps you would expect from an Islay whiskey. I certainly don't get an abrasive, salty, potent whiskey. It does come across quite smooth for the 50%, but also quite sweet as well. But it's still, obviously being an Islay, it still has an earthy quality to the whiskey. Okay, up next, it's a recent video that you guys have seen because I've posted this recently. And it's a cask strength whiskey. You may already can tell which whiskey it is. I get marmalade jam on toast with a little bit of salted butter alongside it, with obviously that dirty oiliness that you would expect from Campbelltown. It's the Glen Scotia 10-year cask strength whiskey. Now this one's bottled at 55.3%, and it's aged in first fill bourbon casks, but there was only 2,000 bottles done of this. It is a limited release, and I picked this one up in duty free in Terminal 1 at Manchester for £50 to £55. I forget which one it was, but it was around that price. An exceptional value for money whiskey. I mean, where can you get a 10-year-old cask strength whiskey full stop? Never mind one from Campbelltown and a respected name. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff, I have to be honest. I'd love them to do this as part of the core range. Maybe one day. Okay, moving on, we're going to go for an Irish whiskey next. And this is a whiskey bottled at 50%. It's also a limited release though. And I don't like doing limited releases on these videos, but they're two good whiskies, so I do want to talk about them. And this is the Black Barrel Proof. Now for me, I actually don't drink the standard 40% Black Barrel anymore, because it's just such a drop off from this whiskey now. And unfortunately, this whiskey is not part of the core range. I would love Jameson to include this as part of their core range in the future, because this is a really nice whiskey. Think the Jameson Black Barrel, but turned up an enormous amount. I mean, it's 10% higher in ABV from a 40%er. So you know you're going to get a lot of, a much increased intensity of the whiskey in those notes that you like. But surprisingly, this whiskey added in a lot of tropical fruit for me. And that's my favourite note in a whiskey actually. I don't always like it with peat, but clearly this is unpeated, and that tropical fruit is just incredible. Yeah, this was a good one. I picked this whiskey up for, actually it was nearer the £40 mark, but that was in duty free and I was going to the UK. In shops, I've seen this one for £53, but I think they're all sold out now. There may be a couple left, but as always, I do not recommend buying on the second-hand market. only try and buy for retail. That's my recommendation when it comes down to whiskey. But I do have a second Irish whiskey for you guys, just in case you can't get hold of this one. And this is a 15-year-old whiskey from a distillery that I really like, although recently their recent releases are really expensive, and so I haven't been picking them up, which is a shame. And they've recently released an 18-year-old, but it's £185. So yeah, I don't like that. But I do like this whiskey, and that is the Redbreast 15-year. So bottled at 46% ABV, this whiskey is the most different Redbreast that I have. Now, I have filmed the Redbreast buying guide where I go through the 12 cask strength, the 15, the Lustau, the Tawny Port, the PX, and I think I'm forgetting another one, I'm not sure, but do check that one out. I've not actually released it yet. That's going to get released potentially next week. I need to still edit that one. But this whiskey, what this one gives me that's so different, because I did mention it's the most different to all of the Redbreast that I own, it's going to give you the least sherry impact. Clearly, it's not sherried, it's ex-bourbon cask, but all the other Redbreasts that I have give me that sherry note. This one doesn't, but what it does instead is, it still gives me a fruit note. But I referred to it as, imagine if you took the skin off a really sweet plum, which is wow, a wow note, to be honest. It's not particularly strong in that note, but it is there. What I think is the real selling feature with this one is, think of a mojito. So you've got fresh mint leaves with a little bit of sugar syrup. I also get a little bit of icing sugar as well. I really enjoy it. I think it's actually my favourite Redbreast as of right now. I am going through a phase though, which you'll see in my next whiskey. This year I've always been sherry. I've always preferred sherry whiskies and sherried notes. But this year has been the year where my tastes have just changed and I'm more ex-bourbon cask now. And so this one beats out the 12 cask strength now for me. And so does this next whiskey, which is from Campbelltown. So like this one, but it's 15 years of age and it's the Springbank 15. Now this whiskey is, oh sorry, I didn't mention the price for the Redbreast. The price for the Redbreast is around that £70 mark. You can pay £75. I would not recommend paying more than that. Some websites like the Whisky Exchange have this up for £84, and I just think it's just too much money. Do shop around, do go for a good deal, especially when you go for the more expensive whiskies. Please do shop around, because a lot of websites charge a premium for whiskies where you can get them for a lot cheaper elsewhere. And they do that because they know people are a bit lazy when it comes to buying, but also when they do their sales, they can then act like they're doing a really good offer. So be aware, do shop around. I think low 70s, it's worth it. I really like it for that price. So we have the Springbank 15 now. Now this whiskey is a bit different to the Redbreast in the sense that, well, they're both ex-bourbon cask, and I could have gone for the 12 cask strength, just like the Redbreast, which are both sherried. But as I said, I'm preferring the ex-bourbon cask now, so I've gone for the 15. And this 15 doesn't add mint, but it does add tropical fruits to Springbank. And I love that. I think it's really nice. It gives it more of a nutty nuance as well. So yeah, this is a really nice whiskey, but I actually bought this whiskey for, I think it was £50, £51, with 2 Glencairns thrown in. So yeah, I can't get this one anymore, because second-hand markets, it's so scarce, and on the second-hand market you charge a premium, and I don't buy anything on the second-hand market. That's just a rule of mine. So I'm drinking this one very, very slowly indeed. Okay, let's go to the Island region of Scotland now. for a cask strength whiskey. This is a distillery that I really enjoy. It's the Tobermory distillery, but it's their peated line, which is laphroaig. And this is a cask strength that's been aged for 9 years, all its life in ex-Bordeaux red wine casks. And the laphroaig 9. And this whiskey for me was really exciting actually. When I first opened it up, I just thought it was okay, pleasant. But it really did open up after its neck pour. And it revealed a note for me that I wasn't expecting, and that was the note of pine. It really gives like a heather forest feel, with also a little bit of that wine finish that you would expect. It's been aged its whole life in those red wine casks. But if you think of red grapes, but you think of the vines as well, that's what this one's giving it you. It's not just that red fruit sweetness that a lot of people really enjoy. You actually get part of the green elements to this whiskey. And I've learned to really appreciate that. This is bottled at 56.8%, and I actually picked it up for £60 in the UK. It was on a sale though. Normally this retails for around £75 to £80. I would recommend certainly getting it towards that £70 mark if you can. A really nice one. So now we have 3 whiskies to finish off, and they're actually all Islay whiskies, which maybe you would have expected from a video from me. I was blown away with this whiskey. It was the last whiskey that I bought, and I only bought it so I could complete the core range and do a buying guide video. And I can't believe I neglected it for so long. This is an unsung hero of the line, and it's actually my favourite of the line. This is the Ardbeg Corrie Reckon, and bottled at 57.1% ABV, but it's not a cask strength whiskey, although it might as well be at that proof. Incredible whiskey. I'm blown away with this one every time I drink it. I do get a dark fruit note to this whiskey though, and for me it's blackberry. So you get that dark fruit sweetness, but also it's quite tart at the same time, mixed with all that tremendous amount of peat, that boggy, earthy element that you would expect from an Ardbeg. But it also has quite a good amount of medicinal notes as well in here. With a drop of water, this really does uncover a little bit more of a herbal nature too. I really enjoy it. Don't think sweet herbs though, think more of like a sage. It's a good whiskey. It's a really good whiskey. Okay, I'm realising we're running out of room here. I'm going to go for an unpeated Islay next. It is a cask strength whiskey, and it's the 2023 edition. Unfortunately, guys, there's not going to be a 2024 edition, because that one, I think they're doing to the 21 year, which is a little bit out of my price range. So I will not be buying that one. This one's incredible though. This is the Bunnahabhain 12 year. Bottled at 60.1%, and wow, this is a monumental upgrade on the standard 12 year. In fact, that's a whiskey war that I have not released yet, but I will release soon. It's filmed, edited and uploaded, and they're actually more different than I thought they would be before I'd bought this whiskey. What a special dram. It's not too heavy on the sherry notes, but what it does is it gives you more of a caramelized nut with a little bit of coffee as well. It's a special whiskey actually. I really like it, and I will definitely look to buy that one again in the future. But now we have the number 1 whiskey, and I know these are in no particular order. They're actually not actually, but I've left this one to last because I'm having a little bit of a love affair with this whiskey. It's from Laphroaig. It's the 16-year-old. But actually, another point of why I like this whiskey is they recently did an 18-year-old, just like Redbreast, where they charge £180, and yet this 16-year-old, set at the same proof, just 2 years younger, is £85. Make it make sense. I don't understand that pricing. So yeah, good value for this one. I'm not going to be buying the 18 for that reason. Purely ex-bourbon cask, bottled at 48%. And this 16-year gives me everything that I like about Laphroaig. But actually, if you'd have told me, I think you're going to prefer, your favourite Laphroaig is going to be a turned down, sophisticated Laphroaig, a more subtle Laphroaig, I'd have laughed. I'd have said, absolutely no way. I like my Laphroaig strong and aggressive. Until I tried this one. And what this whiskey does is, if you picture the Laphroaig 10 cask strength with a little bit of water added, but mellowed out, with a little bit of vanilla cream actually added in, icing sugar, but my favourite note is the pine that's in Laphroaig is elevated in this whiskey. It's the most piney whiskey that I have. I adore the note of pine, which is why I quite like the laphroaig as well. But this one does it best. I don't want to say any more. I love that whiskey. And this one is available for £85 in the UK. I didn't mention the Bunnahabhain price as well. I'm terrible when it comes to remembering to mention the prices of whiskies. The Bunnahabhain is available for around that £70 mark as well in the UK. The Corrie Reckon is also around the £65 to £75 mark. A little bit more of a variance with the Ardbeg. So, but the Bunnahabhain and the Ardbeg are roughly the same price. The Laphroaig you pay a little bit more at £85. Okay guys, that rounds up my last episode of this little mini series, a 4-parter. We had the best whiskies under £30, the best whiskies under £40, the best under £50, and now finally the best over £50, but they're all below £100. We have the Port Charlotte 10-year-old, the Glen Scotia 10 cask strength, the Jameson Black Barrel Proof, which is 50%, the Redbreast 15, the Springbank 15, the laphroaig 9-year-old cask strength, the Ardbeg Corrie Reckon, the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength, the 2023 edition, and finally the Laphroaig 16-year. Do let me know in the comments down below, guys, if you've tried any of these whiskies and if you like them. Also, feel free to put in the comments down below your recommendations for this price bracket. I'd love to hear you guys' suggestions. Of course, I've not tried all the whiskies in the world, and so I will be keeping a keen eye on the comments down below. I always listen to you guys' recommendations, and I've actually picked up a couple of whiskies from you guys that I love now that I wouldn't have picked up otherwise. So thank you for that. And finally guys, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like on the video down below, and don't forget to click that subscribe button down below. I know in a lot of these videos I've been saying we're on the road to 1000. We finally did it, and we're on 1024 right now. So the more the merrier. If you haven't already, please do click that subscribe button. And thank you so much to my Patreon members who are actively supporting the channel down below. I really do appreciate the help. Every penny that I get from there gets reinvested back into the channel. That's an absolute certainty. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you all for the next Whiskey War.